We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Hi, welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Drew Brown. We hope to inspire, entertain, and learn something so we can all make this world a better place for our children. I'd like to introduce to you somebody who's my friend, my wingman, my main man, and I have a wingman watching my back, Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul, what's happening?
Oh, not much. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Thompson, and you just heard from Mr. Drew Brown, Dark Gable. He's the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. How are you doing today, Mr. Dark Gable?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad I'm full of knowledge, Paul. I'm glad I'm full of knowledge. Well, we're going to have a great show right now. Check this out. Dr. Paul, how you doing today, my brother? How's everything?
Very good, very good. I'm alive and kicking. I feel pretty good today after a vigorous 20-minute workout. 500 calories burned, according to my Fitbit.
Yeah, well, I did my little Peloton yoga with Chelsea Jackson Roberts, who's very pregnant at this point. We did our yoga, and I did a 30-minute spin class with Kendall, and she was jamming on some hip-hop. So that's what we did this morning, early. But you have a great wingman story for us today, don't you?
Yes. Concerns a professional athlete that was not super famous, but his name was so unique, I never forgot it.
Neither did I. You go to Costco?
You know, I didn't. I'm going today. I didn't make it. I didn't. At my Costco nearby, they're doing something. I'm not sure what it is, but they're either expanding it or putting in different sections. Nobody knows what it is, but there's this plywood from the floor to the ceiling in a certain section.
Secret Costco.
Yeah. I asked one of the managers, I said, well, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if that was true or not. That's what he said. All right.
Well, we want to welcome everybody, our old and new listeners. Thank you so much for listening. You can give us a review on Apple Podcasts. That would be great. You can also watch us on YouTube. I'll show pictures. Dr. Paul and I talk about things, and we got some good pictures going on, so you can do that. So I want to start off with something, Dr. Paul.
Sure.
And remember I told you we went to Italy. I ate all pizza and pasta, and I lost 7 pounds.
Yeah, how did you do that?
Well, I'm finding out that it was what I was eating. The foods over there are not super processed. And then you and I did some research, and we saw that super processed foods actually mess with your brain. And they can make you tired. They can make you irritable. They can make you angry. It can stop your focus. It can hurt your memory. Processed foods are real bad. What do you think about that? Because we read that, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm getting away from it.
Yeah, I remember the article. I try not to do too much of that. It's hard not to, but most of the stuff that's in the supermarkets, even including the so-called healthy ones, I won't mention any names, most of it's junk with pretty pictures and just loaded with stuff. And I've always wondered myself, with the changes in behavior that I've just seen personally here and there, are people eating things that are just making them crazy and dumb, or dumb or crazy, or crazier and dumb. And I think this article says my suspicions are correct. You know, a road rage central. People they go off and will kill and do all kinds of things for at least a little provocation that you wouldn't have done it as a 5-year-old, but you'll do it as a 35-year-old.
Yeah, but they have Cheetos and sodas in the car and donuts, and they're eating all this stuff, and they're starting to go crazy with it. I mean, this food is really affecting our brains, Dr. Paul. These foods that we're eating, they're really starting to make us crazy. I mean, this is scientific. Once again, we're starting to learn more about our bodies and more about the things that we ingest. You know, baby Drew is now on using a little formula, but he's getting it from Whole Foods. And my son, I said, what about the formula shortage? He said, Dad, that's for that cheap formula. And you have to read 10 substances before you get to a name that you can understand.
Oh, really?
Yes, in baby Drew's formula, it starts off with food right away. But if you look on the back, look at ingredients, everybody. You know, don't look at calories and fat and all that. Look what's in the food. When you see the color blue, that's not good. There is no color blue tree.
Wow, how about that? So there is no shortage for him.
There's no shortage for expensive baby formula.
Oh, I didn't know that. That does make sense, because I remember seeing the article saying that with the shortage, people are so stretched that they can't even afford to put gas in a vehicle if they have one to go buy the formula that's available, but it's a cheap formula.
That's
Didn't
correct.
know that.
That's correct. I'm telling you, he said that you read like 10 things before a word comes up that you would understand.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty bad. But, I think, guess what happened? I told you about Italy. We were there. I was eating pizza. It's the best pizza. We said on our show, it beat New York pizza. And I think that somebody heard our show because they just pulled out all the Domino's pizzas out of Italy.
I saw that. Why would you do that? Put an American pizza chain in Italy, wouldn't that be like bringing a bag of sand to the beach?
Yes. And not good sand.
Right. Yeah, rocks and, I don't know. I've had pizzas in Italy, and some are very, 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 very good. I've had pizzas in other parts of Europe, also very good. On par with the New York pizza.
No doubt. But remember, you said, why would somebody eat Domino's in Italy? Well, do you remember we used to pull in with the ships, and we had sailors go to France, to Germany, to Italy, and eat at McDonald's?
Right, because they want a taste of home. But I saw that in the airlines too. Same thing. Guys, they're eating at McDonald's in Paris.
Amazing.
What? I used to. Well, I won't. I'll just leave it there. They ate at McDonald's. I'll just clean it up by saying, in Paris, you have a lot of food choices. Man, you can do what you want to do.
I think so. Hey, guess what, Dr. Paul? Something I want to start doing. If you walk 10, 20 minutes after you eat, it seems all your problems will go away, the doctors say. They're saying that little bit of exercise right after you eat will actually take care of most of the calories and actually get your digestive system moving, where you're more in balance and you don't start gaining weight if you exercise right after eating.
Okay. When they say exercise, how much exercise? Just a little walking, something mild?
Walking, like we said last week, just walking is good enough. Your blood sugar levels decrease. And what happens is, for people who are overweight, you don't feel as hungry anymore. So after you eat, you need to walk to get that digestive system going.
Okay. About how much? How long do you have to walk?
10, 20 minutes.
Okay.
And take a nice leisurely stroll. Just try it, and I bet you'll see a major difference. I'm going to start doing that. Mm-hmm. I have diabetes. I'm not kidding with this. And I just saw one of my friends just lost his leg from circulation. And I just can't go that way. I check my blood sugars every morning. I got a couple of guys. We text our numbers to each other, actually. Actually, I got a good brother, my brother Button from Harlem. Mm-hmm. I grew up with him. Now
I remember Button. I remember hearing the name.
Yeah, now he lives in Tennessee. Well, we text our numbers all the time because we're wingmen for each other with this disease, because diabetes can be controlled as I'm doing it.
That's good. There's a couple of friends of mine were talking about being in a parking lot somewhere at some mall, and I guess it looked kind of suspicious. And the policeman came over. I guess it was like an undercover guy, kind of say, what's going on, and he thought a drug deal was going down. They were basically checking their A1Cs together. They're like, and they showed it to him, and he he started laughing because he's got it too.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Because the cars were pointing to each other, and one was in the vehicle and in an big empty parking lot. Amazing.
A1C drug deal, huh?
Yeah.
They're selling. Well, insulin prices just came down because of a bill they just signed. But how about the NFL? Let's talk about this. The NFL's starting up, and if you looked at some of the pictures, and if you guys watch us on YouTube, I'll show you these pictures. But they have funny-looking helmets now that are called Guardian caps. Yeah. And they actually put it over the helmet. And listen to this. It stops the impact if both players are wearing it by 20%. And that can be major for these brain injuries. Yeah. The problem is, Dr. Paul, they're only wearing it for preseason and not for the games. because they're not pretty enough, it seems like.
Yeah, I saw they look like it's that you wear that on top of the regular helmet, so it's a little bulkier, and it looks like a big a foam pad sponge looking thing. Yeah, I think they're going to just use it for preseason, up to like the second practice and up to the second preseason game, and then it stops. They're still evaluating it.
Yeah, but I don't understand that. If they already know that it stops the injuries by 20%, why won't you keep using it?
I don't know, unless they've got to do further testing before they can make a guarantee or something.
I used to say this silly thing, but true. If you want to stop head hits in the NFL, just take away the helmets, period.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to hit their head anymore.
Yeah, it's like bare knuckle boxing, where that's going to be a lot more painful than.
Well, look at rugby. Yeah. Rugby, they don't wear helmets, and they're a mighty rough sport.
That's right. So.
Well, I just read a review on this music helping dementia. That's very interesting. And it says that music, it bridges the gap between the brain auditory system and the reward system. And that's very interesting to me. That means good music makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And when you're happy, it seems like your dementia, or people who are prone to dementia or memory loss, they start getting better from it.
Well, that's good. That could be a great therapy for everybody, in fact, I read that yesterday, and I started to play some music too, as I was doing some other stuff on the computer that wasn't, super complicated. I didn't have to do any heavy thinking, and I felt better. Some old stuff I hadn't heard in a long time, and it's not a bad idea. Sometimes I'll put like certain things on in the background, like really, really low, especially when I'm doing my write-ups and stuff like that. Put on really, really low. And they call it music to concentrate by. It's something I got off YouTube. There's like 1,000 of them. And there's a couple that I really like, and it's not bad at all. I think I'm kind of productive with it. Just in the background, real low.
No, I agree. Trina and I sit on the porch now, and instead of jamming all the time, we got this channel on Spotify called Jazz in the Background.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it could play all day and all night long. Nice and low, but it just makes you feel good. And that's that reward center in your brain that they're talking about.
Yeah, I think every listeners, give this a try. Give this a try. Try it for yourself. See if it helps you. It's not a bad thing. That's a cheap form of therapy that everybody can do.
No doubt about it. And music makes the world go round. Music makes me happy. Let's talk about getting some money here.
Yes.
This show is about empowering people to become financially independent. This show is about empowering people to go and be successful in something that they love doing, because success is waking up every day doing something you love and doing it well. You and I are successful. We woke up and flew jets all over the world. That's how we got paid, and that's how we made our living. We were very blessed to find that purpose in life that we have. We were very, very, very blessed.
Yes.
But financial freedom is something that you have to learn. So, Dr. Paul and I bought 100 shares each of Ford, and we bought it at $14.50 a piece. It went down, I think, I'm not sure about the numbers, but maybe $10.50. We didn't sell, and now it's up to $15 or $16. So we are making money now. But don't forget, when you buy good stocks, you keep them for the long haul. And you don't ever lose or make money until you sell them. So that Ford is really good. But I told you something that we talked about and looked up. Somebody told me that if you start saving when you're early, you can become a millionaire easy when you're 65. So I have a couple of numbers I want to just throw at you. Now, this is with 7% interest. And if you invest and you do it smart and wise, you can definitely make more than 7%. I try to average 12 to 15 to 20% a year. But this is just 7%. That means that your money goes up by 7% every year. Well, at 20 years old, if you save $204 a month, you'd be a millionaire at 65. At 25, $298 a month. At 30, $443. At 35, $670. At 40, $1,000 a month. Point being, the younger you are, the less you have to save. And compound interest, what did we say? Your money will double every 6-7 years.
Yeah. There's the double is something called the rule of 72. It's fairly well known. And you take whatever interest rate you're getting, you divide that in 72, and that's the time it'll take your money to double. So let's just say you've got some investment, say it's $1,000 or $1 million, whatever, and you're getting 6% interest. If you divide 6 into 72, you get 12. That means at that rate, assuming nothing changes, in 12 years, you'll double your money. If you're getting 24%, let's say, a year, that means your rate 24 into 72 goes, 3 times? You'll double your money in 3 years. If you're getting 36% interest, you'll double your money in 2 years. And if you get 72% interest, you double it in 1 year. It just works out. The rule of 72. Divide your interest, divide whatever you're getting into 72. That's how much time it'll take for your money to double. That assumes, that's just an idealistic number, but it's an easy one to remember.
The idea is to save, though. The idea
you
is
just
to
have to
take
do
money out every month. Every month, pay yourself first. Somebody taught me that a long time ago. I am the most important company in the world.
Yeah.
And so Drew Brown should get paid first, meaning my savings. They're more important than Georgia Power. Right. I'm the most important company I have. And so when I got in the Navy, this is where I started. They said, take 10% of your pay and just put it away. Mm-hmm. And every time you get a raise, just continue with that 10% and make like it's a tax, make like you don't have it. And I swear, when I got on Navy, I had some money. I had thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Same here. I was single. I lived simply. Most of my possessions could fit in my car. Even when I got out of the Navy, I lived very simple and I was fine. And
you don't live simple now, though, Dr. Paul.
Well, yeah, I got a committee that has their own demands. If I didn't have the committee, I'd still be kind of simple. Just like you hear these tech billionaires or whatever, and they live in some rundown apartment in somewhere in San Francisco and stuff pizza boxes all over the place, and he's got $894 million, but eccentric or whatever. It just doesn't mean anything like that. Even if you look at Bill Gates, where they don't really dress fancy, if you notice.
Oh no,
most of them.
Rich people don't want you to know they're rich, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, and I wouldn't either. Yeah.
When I met David Rockefeller, he had a plastic watch and a wedding band.
Really?
He gave me his business card, and it was a P.O. box. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever got. In other words, if you want to get in contact with me, write me a letter. Yeah.
I mean, Warren Buffett, doesn't he still live in the same house in Omaha, Nebraska? They've been since 1956 or 58? He drives like a Rambler.
Yeah, a stinky pickup truck or something. Yeah,
pickup truck. Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's not the game for them. They're not into spending. They're into making.
Right.
But when you become that wealthy, you have a choice. When you're broke, you can't be spending. Right. And there's a way not to be broke in this country. There's a way not to be broke in this country. Find something you love to do and start getting good at it. That's what's important. Everybody's a LeBron James in something, Dr. Paul.
True. You just have to find out what it is.
Every person has a gift.
Yeah, just find out what it is and try something new. Try, keep trying. Get knocked down, get up. Get up at least one more time and you've been knocked down.
That's true. Well, let's talk about something crypto, because I think we should, how we use frequencies, the Wingmen frequency. It's the zone that we listen to and what we're accustomed to. Well, how about this one? Crypto to me is OPEC. Now, OPEC is the ones who are in charge of all the energy and the oil in the world. And I asked Dr. Paul to look it up, and he told me I told him there were 23 countries. Mm-hmm. He came back and told me there were 14. I went and looked, and I saw 12. What's going on, Dr. Paul? These are the countries I know about: Algeria, Angola, Congo, Ecuador, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates and Venezuela. Those are the major ones in OPEC.
Right.
What I want to know is, who the hell are they to raise prices, lower prices, raise prices, lower prices. Why are we dependent on somebody else for our energy, Dr. Paul?
Yeah. Well, OPEC, I think started in 1960 in Baghdad, Iraq, actually. I think the home office is in Vienna right now. Yeah, they don't control all the oil. I think they control like 40% of the world's oil, which is still a lot. But the biggest producer is actually the United States now. It's the biggest producer. And it's coming from that shale oil, which does a lot of environmental damage. But you can get it. It's got a lot of rocks in it and things like that. But shale oil has allowed the U.S. to become the biggest oil producer, believe it or not. Still, OPEC can do a lot of things. OPEC came into being. I never heard about it until like the 70s, because there was the war between was it Israel, Iraq? No. Let me think about it. Egypt and Syria did some attack on Israel like in 73. And the U.S. backed Israel. They sent them some billions of dollars. And this OPEC, which had been around for like 13 years, got upset. And they had that was the Arab oil embargo. We're embargoing your oil. Then from OPEC. Who? What? Then it became a thing. And, eventually it kind of came out. But I don't know if you remember, I was just learning to drive at that time, but you had all these long lines and folks were running out of fuel. They were getting into fist fights more than they are now, much more. But actually, it was quite a bit more violent. It was a new thing. Oil was stopped. And it kind of messed up the country. It started a recession. And you also had a fair amount of increase in unemployment because there are a lot of things that couldn't run now. So they do have that power. If you stop the oil, you stop a lot of things because oil is a part of, everything.
Oil is a part of war.
Big time. Yeah. And they fight over oil, the Persian Gulf and those are very narrow waterways going into that's a very narrow. I mean, flying over them all the time. They're very, very, very narrow, and they need to keep that supply open. That's a big part of the Navy, at least the U.S. Navy, is to keep the world shipping lanes open.
That's true.
No, it's not all Maverick and Goose and Top Gun. It's just to keep the shipping lanes open.
It's not all Top Gun?
No, it's not all Top Gun.
I hope people understand that Top Gun fighters are made to protect the ship. And the only reason they have that carrier out there are for pilots like Dr. Paul and myself who fly attack jets. Yeah.
But you're showing your age a little bit too, because now at least the Navy, they do both. It's VFVA. It's attack and jet. It's just like,
they have one airplane does it all.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah. And that's for commonality of parts and maintenance and things like that. So,
I always wondered why we depend on other countries so much, like the microchips. We depend on Taiwan usually or Asia for the microchips, but we just signed something that we're going to become the number one producer of microchips. They just signed an act. And I don't understand why we don't just wrap ourselves around solar energy and be able to take the sun and make that the energy source. We have the scientific knowledge to do it. We wouldn't have to be dependent on anybody. And I think people would start buying stuff from us again.
Yeah, I think so too. Most of the solar stuff the components come out of China like everything else, because there's always a search for cheaper labor. So eventually everything went offshore, including things that you really, really depend on. And if you've got a beef with the person that produces what you really depend on, you could be in deep trouble. A lot of components for the electrical grids in the United States or whatever are made in China. So it's they didn't used to be that way, but it wasn't always that way, but it is now. I guess it's changing. So sometimes cheaper labor has a higher cost. And something's coming back to the U.S.
Wow. I think it's now time for a Wingmen PSA. Avoid these 8 deadly sins: pride, envy, anger, sloth, lust, greed, gluttony, and the new one, drugs and alcohol. Good will overcome evil. Avoid those 8 deadly sins. This has been a Wingmen PSA.
Very good. Very good.
Well, how about this Wingman? Now, before you start telling us about this, Wingman, I just want people to know that we work very hard now to try to bring good stories to the Wingmen Show, because it seems very easy to talk about murder and mayhem and disasters. But we searched and we tried to make stories that make you feel better, because I think the best compliment I ever got is that somebody said, my good friend Mikey, he said, after I listen to your show, I just feel better. Well, Dr. Paul and I would like to continue that. And so we had to dig deep for this, because this is a fact that I can't believe that we didn't know. Dr. Paul, tell us about our wingman this week.
Yeah, our wingman this week is an athlete, or a former athlete, that was not famous. He's pretty good. He was, was not a household name. And his name is Junior Bridgman. And I'd heard of him, I'd watched him play a little bit in the NBA. He played in the 70s, maybe the early 80s, but he wasn't famous. He came off the bench. I think he played with Milwaukee for a while. I think he spent most of his career with Milwaukee. And he came off the bench. Played for the University of Louisville, and he was an okay player. Well, it was like two or 3 years ago. I remember watching it TV, and a commercial came on, and it was for GE Capital, General Electric Capital. I guess they got a financial arm of General Electric Corporation. And he talked about GE Capital, has been working with Junior Bridgman, and now he's doing something with restaurants. I saw it briefly, and I kind of paid attention and didn't. Just got heard the Junior Bridgman. That junior name was familiar. Okay. Then I saw it a few other times. Junior Bridgman, Junior Bridgman, Junior Bridgman. And then it comes out that, he's like a magnate in the fast food business, and found out that, he owns or has sold, he had like 160 Wendy's restaurants and 120 Chili's restaurants and some other things. And he was not a super wealthy NBA player. I remember when Shaq got his contract to go from Miami to the Lakers. Was that the way, or was it the other way around? Right? Where Orlando to the Lakers, he got was $91 million or $109 million, some fantastic sum. I know he's upset now because guys who play half as well as do are getting more than 2.5 times that.
Yes.
I know Rudy Gobert got $250 million. He's okay. He got $250 million bucks. It's, everything goes up. But at the height of his career, Junior Bridgman, I think his highest salary is $350,000.
That's right.
Which is nothing to sneeze at. But by NBA standards, the guy at the end of the bench today would make probably triple that or more. But he made $350, and then he stopped playing. But the thing about it, before he stopped playing, he got involved in the franchise business while he was still playing. And he worked in a Wendy's. He actually worked and learned the business. And when he left the NBA, he had 3 restaurants. It was pretty good. But over that time, he grew that. He grew and grew and grew it. He's got hundreds of them now. He's 68 years old, looks to be in good shape from the last picture I saw of him. And you told me he sold his holdings, and he owns Jet Magazine.
Yes, he just sold. He bought them out of bankruptcy. Dr. Paul, he's the second richest NBA player ever. Wow. Michael Jordan is number 1, and he's number 2, and we don't know that. And why
How about that? Everybody knows Michael Jordan.
Hard work and education. He did it through actual hard work, not just through basketball. Right. He got a little bit of money and turned that money with hard work into the second wealthiest NBA player.
Right. And most of the people listening to this broadcast probably never heard of him.
No, I remember him because he was a good player.
He's a good player, yeah. He's okay. Came out there. He's okay.
But no way that he had more money than Shaq and Kobe and all of them. He beat them all.
He beat them all.
He just sold all of his restaurants, and now he's a Coca-Cola bottler from Kansas. And that's big. That's big.
Wow. Junior Bridgman. Yeah, he's done very well. So sometimes, you hear a lot of athletes, they did this, they got a DWI or something crazy happened. And
I just sent you one.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch got a DWI, and you asked me, how do these guys have so much money, so much power? Why do they keep getting in trouble? And I wrote you back, it's because they think they're above the law, and they've been treated special ever since they've been in high school, usually, if they've been super athletes. Ever since they've been in high school, they didn't have to follow the rules. And now they still think they don't have to follow them.
Yeah. Sometimes in life, it's good to have had just a regular job.
No doubt.
Okay, just a regular job.
Hey, before we leave, you asked me a question about this walking thing, because I'm going to start doing it. This is Harvard. 21 minutes a day after eating can reduce your risk of heart disease by 30%.
All right, 21 minutes. Okay. What if you live in an apartment this time? I guess you could still get up and march in place, could you?
If you live in an apartment?
Yeah, apartment.
On what floor? I lived on the 11th floor, so all you had to do was walk up the stairs of the project. You'd be in shape.
It's dark at night and dangerous. We're not walking.
But then you run up the stairs. I'm not kidding. You know, people talk about haunted houses. This is not a joke. Going from the 11th floor down to the first floor in my project, because they used to bust the lights in the stairway.
Right.
It was the scariest thing you could do, to run down those black, dark steps, not knowing what's coming, and finally getting out. That was a haunted house for you.
There you go. With no ghosts, or your ghosts are flesh and blood.
That's true. Well, I really do pray for peace, Dr. Paul.
I do too. Everybody be peaceful and do something nice for somebody, even if you don't have to.
And take a walk.
Yeah, take a walk.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.